Hello, hello.
Eric Church, it's Evan and Amber with Taste of Country Nights. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We are good, man. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. Of course, you know the triple album. The first one comes out on the 16th. We're so excited for that. Now, you just announced your tour starts in September. Who's going to be opening the tour?
We don't do openers. It'll be just us. It'll be an evening with. So we're doing in the round setup, and the stage will be in the middle of the arena, and we'll do 360. And it's just going to be 3 or 4 hours of music. So there'll be a break in the middle. People can get a beer, hang out. But it's kind of like we've done before is we do an intermission, but it'll be an evening with.
That you're doing double, triple work on those shows that are like that, man. Is there any part of this tour that makes you a little nervous as it relates to safety measures and COVID and whatnot?
I mean, yes. I mean, there's always that thing. I mean, here's where I think this has been. And listen, I have become an amateur epidemiologist in the last, however long. But I have been home more. This is not something that we just did. We didn't just say we were going to do this. There's been more meetings with local municipalities and governors and epidemiologists and scientists. And I mean, we've been talking about this for a while. And here's what I really think we're going to be. Once every able-bodied adult can get a vaccination, which I think is going to be sometime this month in April, it's really going to be, and you've already seen it with some states saying that, by June or whatever, that there's no restrictions. It's really going to be up to the person. If you want to get a vaccination, get one. If you don't, then depending on what the current situation is, you might want to wear a mask to the show. But I think that that's what we're going to deal with for a little bit. But it's really the reason I've tried to get, been encouraging people to get vaccinated is the more people vaccinated, the better we're going to be at getting back together quicker. And this is, once we get through this month, I think most states are going to say, listen, everything's back open, indoor and outdoor. They're not going to pay attention as much to case numbers because you have the ability to go get a vaccine if you'd like one.
I think it's incredible that you put so much time and hands-on with getting this set up and talking to everybody, making sure that you can do this and make everybody safe.
And I feel confident about that. I mean, the most safe you can be. Again, I get a lot of pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine. Here's what I've said to everyone: I'm neither. I just want to put on a guitar, man. I just want to strap on a guitar. I am playing the cards that I've been dealt, and I think that I would encourage that for anyone that, because I do believe there's going to be arenas that we roll into that maybe the thing is if you've been vaccinated, masks are optional. If you've not been vaccinated, they're recommended. And then there's going to be cities where I believe it's going to be mandatory mask, and I think we're going to deal with that at least in 2021.
Mm-hmm. Now, the 3 albums is such a unique concept, and even the way you recorded it, was it hard to convince your team, like the label, songwriters, and everybody to just jump into the new recording style?
Well, I kind of felt like, what's interesting, Evan, is I kind of felt like that it was necessary. So I felt like we rolled into the Desperate Man album, which I'm incredibly proud of. It's a different sounding album. It was a different, if you look at it in our career, as a catalog, I love what it was and what it is. But it was really, really hard to make because we had just came in off a massive tour. We were playing two sold out arenas every night. And I felt like we were a little, for lack of a better term, fat and happy. And we came in and it was kind of, the hunger, the urgency was gone. I felt like that the things that made us who we were as an artist wasn't there. I was fighting it harder. I've got a band that's seen all these people screaming for them, and then they're it just annoyed me. Yeah. So I think after the Desperate Man project, what a lot of artists would have done, they would have changed producers. And I work great with Jay Joyce. And I think that what I tried to do was the opposite, which is let me just mess this whole process up and make him as uncomfortable as he can be, and me as uncomfortable as I can be, and the musicians as uncomfortable as they can be. So we packed up, we moved to North Carolina. We basically quarantined before the world needed to. And we sat there, and my goal was to write a song, and then the day that we wrote it, we recorded that night and let the chips fall where they may. And it just, I really didn't know what was going to happen. I thought that there was a fair chance we'd get up there and 4 days in go, this is a horrible idea. And, but it just started working, and you could feel the musicians being drawn to it. I was drawn to it as a songwriter. The songwriters I was with, the co-writers were drawn to it. And I think that as this thing started to unfold, you could feel that hair standing up on your arm kind of feeling, where okay, we're into something here. And I think that was the kind of the special part, is it started to work. And once that happened, it was just about committing to every day. Whatever we did yesterday was yesterday. Today, we got to do another one. And it was really kind of freeing in a way. I mean, I remember listening back to this whole project at the very end. I had forgotten these songs. I mean, keep in mind, I only spent a few hours with them. I wrote it, recorded it, and then next day. And it was so weird to listen back to it almost as a fan, which I don't really get to do. You spend so much time with songs. So I got to listen back to it and go, this is, I remember 4 or 5 songs into listening back. I was like, damn, this is good. And it kind of started to, I was shocked. And it started to grow on me. And I thought this might work. So
you dedicated your albums to Mark, your fans, and Clay, which I think really speaks to the fact that it seems like you really created not just a team, but like a close family. Is that teamwork / family style of recording something that you're going to continue to do on future albums?
It is. I mean, so my last album, The Desperate Men album, I dedicated my brother who had passed away. And then this album, we lost Mark Earp, who was my main production guy for my entire career. And kind of I called him a big teddy bear. I'd look over and he was my guy, And then Clay Beathard was Casey Beathard's son, and Casey's the MVP of this album. I've never been more inspired by anyone than Casey. And Casey's one of the, if not the greatest songwriter I've ever sat across from. And his son died. I'll never forget. It was right before Christmas, mid-December, before we were supposed to go record this album in January. And his son was killed was murdered. And we talked about, he's got to do his thing, and but he was the rock. He was my guy. I mean, he is the guy of the entire album. It's if you look at the through line, it's Casey Beathard. And as that unfolded, I said, hey man, do what you got to do. Don't worry about me. It's just we'll figure it out. And he came back. He said, nope, I feel led to be there. I'm going to be there. And I've never seen anyone that's more inspiring than that. And I believe that there was a lot of divinity into a lot of what he was doing in those mountains. And he was by far the best rider in those mountains, and the most inspired rider. And I owe all 3 of these albums to him more than anybody else.
Wow, that's really a beautiful thing to say. Speaking of how beautiful these songs are and how much work was put into them, when you came back to your family, after being secluded for so long, what was the first song that you shared with them that you were so excited for them to hear?
Well, I saw them. So what would happen is they would come. So we would work. My family where we were at was in Banner Elk, North Carolina, and that's where I spend my summers. So we had a house probably about 15 minutes from where we were recording that we spend our summers. So my wife would bring the kids over like on a weekend. They would do school on a Friday. They would come over, and I would leave the recording session on a Friday, and I would tell Jay, hey, I need, let's start back Monday morning. So I would take a Saturday and Sunday and go see my kids. The problem was I have never been more dialed in as a songwriter. So when I was with them, I was so far out there on that limb that I felt like I was still writing songs, even with what the kids said. It's just everything was a song. And I remember there's a song, I think it's a soul album, but Catherine decided to have movie night one night, and we watched The Rocket Man, the Elton John movie, and we were sitting in our place in Banner Oak. So it's a night off, right? And we got a glass of wine. I got a glass of wine, and I'm watching this. And the very first part of the movie, Elton John's going through something, and he's in rehab, and they show him in this character, and he goes, "And that's where rock and roll found me." And when he said that, I thought, "Crap, and I stood up, and she goes, "What's wrong?" I said, "Pause it." I said, "I'll be back in a minute." And I went to the kitchen and I wrote the song, probably in 10 minutes. And I said, "I love that line. That's where rock and roll found me." And so, long story short, even though my kids would come see me, I was not very present during those times.
Well, man, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us and for everything you told us, man. We really appreciate it. Looking forward to these albums.
All right, man. Good to see you guys.